sun hangs high and bright, but the path beneath the grass remains cloaked in shade. Above the boys, near the tips of the tall blades, insects buzz in a dozen different tenors. They flit through the air, bumping into one another, sometimes falling to the ground before launching back into the light. Life above the grass is vibrant. Below, to the boys' surprise, it's eerily still. It may be the lazy nature of the sunny day. It may be the butcher's wife's balm. It may just be blind luck. But the boys are safe. Things move through the grass. Hybrids are heard, but never seen. One particular shiver in the leaves causes the boys to ready their HC devices, but their breath soon calms. A herd of bright green grasshoppers, each as big as a child's forearm, dash through the grass. They travel in a herd of dozens, perhaps hundreds, and leave little room for passage. The boys simply watch. Mesomil takes out his H-Dex. They are not hybrids. They are simply animals. When a stampede of grasshoppers finally passes, the boys continue walking down the path. They travel in complete silence, with only the whispers of the grass above for company. They walk, and just as the boys feel they can walk no further, they come upon a hill. The path hugs the edge of the hill, but the grass on its surface is short enough to climb. Atop of the hill sits a solitary tree. It bears no fruit, but it provides shade from the burning sun. Exhaustion slows down their climb to a crawl. When the boys finally settle in the shade of the lone tree, their legs feel like heavy weights of lead.
"Can we rest?"
The butcher's boy asks.
"Yes,"
the kid replies. All that remains of the professor's laboratory is mere suggestion in the sea of grass. It is only through the black smokestacks in the blue sky that the boys can guess at the location of Gorrowed Willow. Before them lie more enormous leaves of yellowed green swaying gently in the wind. The grass stretches on, and only relents in a far-off distance where it mixes into a dark forest. Beyond the forest, off on a distant horizon, stand the vague outlines of mountains.
"I'm so tired,"
says Mesomil, reaching into his backpack for jerky.
"I think we should just rest here for the night and walk more tomorrow."
The sun has moved past noon, but it's still high in the sky. Hours of daylight are left, daylight that can't be wasted.
"No,"
the kid says.
"I'm not stopping till we get there."
He points off towards the mountain range. In a sea of grass, barely visible in the distance, sits a second hill with a solitary tree. The butcher's boy squints and looks, and finally sighs.
"But we can rest here a bit, okay?"
"Okay." The butcher's boy reaches into his backpack and produces more cuts of dried meat. He rips off a mouthful and then chases the meal with hefty gulps from his water bottle.
"You want some?"
"No." The butcher's boy meat looks and smells appetizing, but the kid refuses to owe the butcher's boy anything else. He blindly reaches into his backpack and produces the jerky his stepmother had given him. The meat is rubbery. It smells of socks and tastes of other things than meat. The butcher's boy finishes off his stick of jerky and chases it with more loud gulps from his water bottle. When he's done, he dries up his mouth with his thumb and looks into his backpack. After brief consideration, he produces another stick of savory-smelling meat and bites into it. He chases each mouthful with big gulps from his bottle. "How much water you got?" the kid asks, packing away his half-eaten stick of ill meat. The butcher's boy shakes his bottle and shrugs.
"Half a bottle left,"
he says, taking another healthy gulp.
"My dad gave me some tablets that make any water good, though. Just need to find a stream."
"Do you see any streams?"
"We'll find one. Don't worry."
The butcher's boy keeps the cap of the bottle unscrewed as if he's about to take another sip. Looking out the dry sea of grass changes his mind. Carefully, he puts the cap back on the bottle and then, with gusto, He falls backwards and sprawls out on the grass. The kid keeps his eyes on the horizon. The far-off island with the lone tree, the ever-expanding meadow of giant grass, the mystery and danger that all hides within. It frightens him. What he sees frightens him, but all he can think of is the notebook he left on his bedside table. As scary as the path is, it would make for a nice drawing.
We should go,
the kid says.
My legs hurt,
The butcher's boy responds.
Mine too,
the kid says, getting up. The sun no longer shines above them, and the path turns cold. The butcher's boy takes a sweater out of his backpack, and the kid buttons up his jacket. The two boys are tired, and when they first set off from the hill, they cannot feel their feet. As their journey through the grass goes on, their energy continues to drain, but the pins and needles in their legs turn to numbness. Mesomil throws out statements and questions throughout the walk, hoping to pull the kid into conversation. The kid stays quiet. He's become content with the fact he let Mesomil live, but he has not forgiven him. Memories of the vine fur, of how it licked its paws and purred and looked up at him. And ever-repeating path of grass, the thoughts start to pick at the kid. His fists start to tighten, but he knows they are of no use. He knows his anger towards the butcher's boy and the hound won't take him anywhere. The kid flicks the HC device into his palm. Then he flicks it back into the bracelet. Then he flicks it back into his palm. The focus of the task keeps the kid occupied as he moves down the ever-repeating path of grass, into his palm and back out, the metal box growing and shrinking. The first couple of tries have his fingers shivering, scared to accidentally release the Zaprat. But after a couple more tries, the action starts to acquaint his muscle memory. Soon enough, the task becomes soothing. All trace of the ache in the boy's lungs clears. He flicks the HC device into his palm and out. All thoughts of the vine fur or the butcher's boy dissipate. The kid starts thinking about his father.
I need to pee,
The butcher's boy says.
Then pee. Can you stop?
The butcher's boy says.
Scared something will jump out on me.
The kid stops.
Thanks,
The butcher's boy says. He looks around the path, as if checking if someone might come and be offended. Then he approaches one of the walls of grass. The kid turns around. The hill with the lone tree is within sight, and the blue of the sky is starting to get cut with pink. Well above the grass, a winged creature soars through the air. As it flies, it slithers like a snake. The kid is a quick draw with the HC device, but it takes him far too long to take out his H-Dex. He aims the plastic tablet at the sky, but it says nothing. The hill is not far, the boy tells himself. Soon they will rest.
What's taking so long?
He asks, when he doesn't hear any progress from the butcher's boy.
I don't know, just wait.
The butcher's boy yells back. I'll meet you on top of the hill, the kid finally says, but he doesn't start walking.
No!
The butcher's boy yells.
Wait, just give me a second.
The kid hears the rustling of grass. He flicks the HC device into his palm.
What's happening?
He yells to the butcher's boy.
I'm just getting off the path. I'll stay close.
The butcher's boy half whispers back.
That's better,
he finally says, satisfied. The kid flicks the HC device into his palm as he watches the hill beyond. The lone tree is so close. Rest is so close. Behind him, the butcher's boy's stream cuts through rustling grass. The kid can already see himself sitting on top of the hill. The stream shifts from the grass. It hits something hollow.
What?
The butcher's boy scarcely has a chance to say. He stumbles out of the grass, barely pulling up his soiled shorts. Behind him, the grass rustles slowly and drowsily. The kid flicks his HC device into his palm. The butcher's boy soon follows suit. The screams are deep in tenor and filled with rage, but the creature that wobbles out of the grass is sluggish and sleepy. The hybrid's body is the shape of a plum, each of its halves housing a mammoth drowsy eye and a furious mouth with dull teeth. Hybrid GH058, commonly known as Googler or Bad Seed. Not much is known about GH058 in its natural habitat. They often travel in groups and are seen as easy prey for passing predators. GH058s are, however, often domesticated as scarecrows for crops in the calmer region, weak to fire and blunt force.
I can handle this,
The butcher's boy says, confident regardless of the state of his shorts. The kid doesn't retract his HC device. He simply steps back. The burn bark comes out rabid and untamed. He leaps at the air and barks and runs through the tall grass, completely ignoring the purple hybrid swaying towards his master.
Bite!
The butcher's boy yells. There is no response. The burn bark is dashing somewhere off in the greenery, chasing something else. The kid readies himself to release his own hybrid. He doesn't know what to expect from the Zaprat. He feels releasing it in front of the butcher's boy's killer, yet the goobler moves closer and closer. The burn bark comes flying through the air like a guided missile. Its teeth sink into the wild hybrid without any hesitation or resistance. The flesh caves in beneath the canine teeth and spills out onto the path in greenish, yellow chunks.
Good job,
the butcher's boy yells.
Good job, now stop.
The burn bark keeps his jaws clenched. He tears at the plum-shaped hybrid as it continues to gurgle in a deepening tenor.
Stop,
the butcher's boy yells.
I said stop.
The burn bark freezes. He looks up at his master. The puppy-like innocence that the kid once saw in the elevator turns back to the hound's eyes.
Drop it.
The burn bark lets the mangled slab of purple flesh drop out of its mouth. Its head cocks to the side.
Good boy, now come here.
The butcher's boy pets the murderous hound and scratches him behind the ears and calls him good. All the while, the mutilated goobler on the road continues to groan and shift its deflating body from side to side.
Do you want it?
The butcher's boy asks, pointing to the hybrid.
If you can catch it, it'll be healthy later.
The kid shakes his head. What use would it be?
We could train it to fight,
the butcher's boy says.
Yeah, it could be a battle hybrid, or we could sell it when we get to Gorod Kamer.
Keep it, the kid says, looking at the dying creature. Keep it and let's go to the hill. I'm tired.
Me too,
the butcher's boy says as he aims the device. With a flash, the suffering plum creature disappears. The moment it blinks out of existence, the butcher's boy falls to his side.
It's heavy,
he says, climbing back to his feet and leaning to the right. Then release it, the kid says. But wait 2 minutes first, he quickly adds. The butcher's boy weighs his hand. The burden of his HC device is not easy, and the few steps the child takes threaten to overturn him to the right. He shrugs.
I think I'll keep it. Might be useful.
The kid shrugs and starts making his way towards the hill with the lone tree. The butcher's boy limps close behind, cursing the weight of his wrist.
Do you want to try holding it? It's really heavy.
No.
But it's been 2 minutes. It's been 4 minutes. Nothing bad will happen.
You said it's heavy.
Yeah, really heavy. Heavy like a big rock.
Why would I want to hold it? The butcher's boy considers this. He quietly limps behind the boy, trying to come up with a justification to not carry the heavy hybrid. Just as he opens his mouth to explain his logic, however, furious voices raise from behind the curtain of grass.
There's more of them, the butcher's boy says, flicking out his HC device. We can use them to train our hybrids.
The kid looks up to the hill with the lone tree. It's so close. His legs are so numb and the rest is so close.
Can we just leave them be?
The kid asks.
I'm tired. Me too, says the butcher's boy. But hybrid trainers shouldn't rest. They should train their hybrids at every chance that they get.
Beyond the curtain of grass, there's just a meadow of weeds and mud. In that meadow, half a dozen plum-shaped creatures wobble from side to side, screaming at nothing in particular. When the boys cross the threshold of grass, the gooblers don't change their behavior in the slightest. They continue to wobble around, dumb and harmless.
Jackpot, the butcher's boy yells, lifting his heavy wrist. You can battle 3 of them, and I can battle 3 of them. Can catch one of your own if you want.
I want to rest, the kid says.
But this is such a good training opportunity. I want to rest, the kid repeats. We can rest here, the butcher's boy says, lowering himself to the ground. His descent is cautious and controlled, but the heavy bag and wrists still send him crashing into the mud. We can sit here while the hybrids battle. No, the kid says, looking up the hill. I want to rest there.
The butcher's boy looks up at the hill, then back to the herd of sleepy purple creatures, then back to the hill.
I'll meet you there, he says. Maybe I can train the goobler to fight.
The purple hybrid that the butcher's boy releases from his HC device looks healthier than the defeated piece of living fruit that he captured not long ago. Its injuries, however, have left behind their mark. Even though the goobler wobbles on its feet and screams like the others, the side of its face is bruised and bloated and wrinkled.
Attack!
The butcher's boy yells.
Punch!
The goobler does no such thing. It simply wobbles back and forth in place, deaf and dumb to its master's orders. The kid watches the butcher's boy struggle with his hybrid for a moment, and then makes his exit through the curtain of grass. As he climbs, the kid hears the butcher's boy make battle demands of the goobler. All that comes in response are unintelligible screams and more demands to fight. The higher up the hill the kid climbs, the more of the muddy meadow he can see. Halfway up the trek, the kid's legs give out, and he's forced to sit down on the trimmed grass. He watches the butcher's boy prod and push the goobler towards his wild brethren, but aside from a new tenor of screams from the hybrid, no progress is made. Eventually, frustrated by the goobler's inability to battle, the butcher's boy releases his burn bark. The hound is much more willing to attack the plum-shaped creatures. Within moments, he leaps and sinks his teeth into the mammoth fruit beasts. The butcher's boy yells in glee, but once the goobler is done, once the hound starts snuffing the life out of the wild hybrid, he calls him back. The Bernbark wrestles with the dying beast regardless of his trainer's orders, but when Mesomil's voice raises, when he insists the hound let go of the dying beast, the hybrid obeys.
Good boy,
the butcher's boy yells, scratching his hybrid behind the ears.
See?
He calls out to the kid.
You can train your Zaprat like this. A good trainer teaches his hybrid discipline.
Later, the kid mumbles as he rises to his feet. The rest of the climb is accompanied with shouts and snarls and the death rattles of the creatures below. The kid clears them of his mind. He simply flicks his HC device in and out of his palm and climbs up towards the lone tree on top of the hill. The final few steps are the hardest. The kid's muscles struggle to move and pull him towards the ground. Each footfall he takes requires effort, far too much effort for the child to muster. He drops his heavy backpack to the ground. He pushes his little body as hard as he can, and then, with his head spinning and with each breath scratching against his throat, the child reaches the top of the hill. With the longest day of the kid's short life coming to an end, he collapses in the grass. All trace of his home has been wiped away by distance. Even the smokestacks of Garrod Willow are barely visible. tomorrow's journey lies spread out in front of the child. Another shivering sea of grass and danger. And beyond that sea, slowly lapping it, like the tide of sundown, sits a forest. The kid doesn't let himself think about how much of the journey is left. He stares up at the tree above. The professor, the general, his stepmother, Dr. Kambara, their faces and words drift through the child's mind as he tries to make sense of the day. Just as his breath starts to calm and his mind accepts the possibility of rest, the kid sees movement in the branches. A shadow crashes down beside him. A drooling, frothing creature with webbed limbs and slavering jaws. The kid barely dives clear in time. It snarls on all fours, hunched like a winged squirrel grown wrong, with a wolf's snout and rows of jagged teeth crammed into a face too small to hold them. The kid climbs up to his feet and flicks his HC device out. A flash of light, the once wild Zaprat manifests into existence. It looks confused. With its big eyes, it considers the wild hybrid. Then it turns to the kid.
Zap it!
The fledgling hybrid trainer yells.
Attack! Scratch! Zap! Do something!
The monstrous thing from the tree stands on its hind legs and stretches out its clawed arms. Like thunder strikes of blood, crimson veins throb over the beast's webbed skin. The Zaprat is blind to the tree beast. Its focus is on the kid. With big, incomprehensible eyes, the hybrid watches its trainer.
Zap it!
The kid screams, his voice cracking.
Zap it before it...
The tree creature swings at the Zaprat. The clawed paw is about to strike true, but in the final moment the Zaprat leaps above the beast. The rat creature bares its dull little teeth and starts to spin its shining tail. As rage-filled as the Zaprat is, the beast from the tree does not care. It raises its claws for a strike once more, but this time it towers over the child. Like a crack of a whip, a bolt of electricity hits the tree creature in the back. The rage quickly drains from its eyes. Whimpering and shaking and panicked, the creature climbs up the tree. The twigs above rustle and break, and finally the webbed-armed creature leaps out and takes to gliding flight.
Hybrid GA087, commonly known as Drop Bear.
The kid's H-Dex reads out, once fished out of his pocket.
GA087s often nest in trees during the day and hunt during the night. Thanks to its paticulum, this bear-like hybrid is capable of flight, to be approached with caution, vulnerable to electric discharge and blunt damage.
The drop bear glides towards the setting sun, but it does not glide far. With impressive reach, the Zaprat shoots out another bolt of electricity towards the hybrid. In an instant, the creature drops from the sky and falls into the tall grass. It leaves a trail of burnt smoke in its stead.
Wow!
The butcher's boy throws off his backpack as he runs towards the kid.
What a battle! What a fantastic battle! That Zaprat sure knows how to zap, huh?
He fumbles out his H-Dex out of his pocket and aims it where the drop bear made contact with the ground.
You want to catch it?
The butcher's boy asks. No.
Why not?
I'm tired. The butcher's boy looks like he has something to say, but just as he opens his mouth, a torrent of bark drowns him out. The burn bark comes rushing to the top of the hill, growling and snapping its jaw.
Rex!
The butcher's boy yells at the dog.
Calm, Rex! Don't hurt the Zaprat! It's our friend! It's... Where is it?
The kid looks around. The butcher's boy looks around. The burn bark sniffs at the air and then goes to the tree, squats down and urinates on it. Above the tree branches, the kid Zaprat sits. His chest heaves with effort and his body shakes, but it doesn't take its eyes off his trainer. When the kid points the HC device at the rat, it climbs further into the branches. He makes a couple more attempts to return the hybrid to its box, but the Zaprat crawls so far into the tree that it disappears.
I call him Rex now,
the butcher's boy says, pointing to the hound. Rex is a boy's name, the kid says, sparing one last look at the tree before giving up and sitting down in the grass.
So? It ain't a boy,
the kid says, motioning to the panting burn bark.
ain't got no peeper.
Ah, the butcher's boy says, regarling his hybrid.
Rexina then, I guess.
The fiery hound wags its tail, as if it was happy to have its identity reaffirmed. The butcher's boy unpacks his tent as the kid gathers twigs from around the tree. By the time the tent is standing and the fire is set, the sky has turned a blood red. Down below, in the meadow, 6 gooblers lay unmoving. When the wind dies down and Mesomil isn't talking, the kid can hear them gurgling and dying. He tries not to listen, and after a while, he succeeds. For dinner, Mesomil produces a can of corn with chunks of meat floating around. He does not eat all of it. He leaves half for the kid. The kid attempts to refuse the gifted meal, but the gurgling in his stomach makes it impossible to say no. Once the food is eaten, the boys play rock, paper, scissors over who gets to sleep first. The butcher's boy wins. The kid doesn't argue. As his well-fed companion sleeps in a tent, the child sits by the fire. He is far away from home, and he fears what the future might bring, but the untouched wilderness, lit by the slowly dissipating sun, makes him think of the notebook and pencil he forgot to pack. The kid thinks about his stepmother, and how she gave him the extra potato, and how she cared for him after his father ran away. He wonders whether she'll miss him, and whether she'll even remember him in a year's time. Suddenly, the boy feels lonely. There's a rustle in the tree above. As if the boy's loneliness could be smelt, the Zaprat's eyes emerge from the ever-encroaching dark to keep him company.
Can you understand me?
The kid asks the electric rat with the big eyes. It does not reply. It stares and stares, and then, on its own accord, the Zaprat carefully descends from the tree. It creeps around the kid, as if the boy could cause it harm. It slowly circles around him, each step of its stubby limbs slow and calculated, and then, when it's out of the reach of the boy, it leaps onto his bag, grabs something, and scampers back into the tree.
Bastard!
The child yells at the electric rat sitting on a branch above. The hybrid does not take the insult personally, for it does not understand it. The Zaprat nibbles at the leftover jerky with its stubby teeth. The kid goes to his bag to close it. As he reaches for the zip, he catches a glimpse of the bag's contents. A familiar blue binding. He reaches inside and takes out the notebook and pen. He knows he didn't pack it. He knows he left it sitting on his bedside table. The kid's eyes fill with tears of joy. As the sun sets, in those last few moments of visible light, the kid draws a rough sketch of the grass and forests and mountains beyond. When all traces of the sun finally dissipate and only the hybrid-lit fire illuminates the world, the kid turns the page on his notebook and starts to draw another picture. The kid draws his family, him, his father, and his stepmother. Far, far away, in a world wholly divided from the sea of grass, she shifts around in bed. Sleep won't come. She keeps on trying to remind herself that the child is not her burden, but the truth refuses to stick. She sighs, and for a mere moment allows herself to feel. She allows herself to hope that the child will survive the professor's demented game. With that thought, ever so slowly, she drifts off to sleep. And that wraps up this chapter of Hybrid Master. Don't miss the next one. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and drop hybrid in the comments to help this story ride the algorithmic waves. If you want instant access to all chapters, swing by patreon.com/MikeJLanger or become a channel member. You'll get early access to all episodes and your name in the credits. Huge thanks to the patrons for keeping the series alive. Bob Konderg, C.R. Iptid, Christopher Brunda, Daniel Wengel, Dante Kincaid, Mr. Creepypasta, Quiet Pills, and Koos. Stay safe, stay sane, and I'll see you in the next one.